Let's welcome in our one of our favorite Browns YouTube hosts on the interweb. It is Quincy Carrier. What's up, Quincy?
How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Quincy.
Bro, you look like you're hunkered down in the cave. You're ready for battle right now.
It's like 45 degrees outside. You know, I'm getting chilly.
Mikey McNuggets said that we had to bring this up. So I prefaced my question with that. He wanted me to start with, what are the odds, as you did last year, picking Deshaun Watson to run the table the last six, that DTR does that?
We got to give the context.
We got to give the context for those who were not with us. So when Deshaun Watson was going to start the final 6 games, we had Quincy on, and he said that the Browns had a better than 50% chance going 6-0. And I lost my mind because that felt insane to me.
It did to all of us.
And of course, it didn't happen. But my problem wasn't even predicting it. It's just the 50% part.
So who's the leader of the Kool-Aid Mafia then? Is it you or is it G?
We talked about this yesterday.
We've had a 50-50 split between me and G, right?
Going back and forth.
The Kool-Aid Mafia, and then I have the Flavor Aid family, and we kind of work together that way. It's McDonald's and Burger King, you know what I mean? Like, bring it together in these
both
kind of moments.
Someone, I have to bring this up because someone told me yesterday when you see G on the show tomorrow, please tell him one thing for me. And I said, what? And so I want your honest reaction here. He said, will you please tell G. Bush that everyone that drank the Kool-Aid died?
That's I thought I saw the documentary.
Don't let them put that on you, G.
That's right. That's
Jim Jones, mixed up purple Kool-Aid and threw some cyanide in it. And the next thing you know, there's aerial photos of 1,000 people laying there dead from drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah, man.
His Kool-Aid spelled differently.
But here's the thing: you don't got to worry about me and Quincy doing that. They don't give black people cyanide. We can't even order that. Like, there's no. Where do you get that from? What do you? Yeah, we can't be Unabomers.
If I Google that, they gonna put me on a watch list. So, I'm good.
Percentage chance that DTR goes 8-0. Go.
No, that's not happening, right? There's probably like a 5% chance of that happening. I'm not going to fall into that trap again.
Okay.
If he does that, we've got a hell of a story.
Run that play on me.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, if he does, then like you're talking about a Brock Purdy level play, and I think that is the absolute max you can even dream for out of DTR in this situation, right?
We're going to have a hell of a summer debate. We're going to have an unbelievable summer debate.
You weren't kidding.
Hey, that's one of them good problems, though. Like, right?
Yeah.
But that's one of those good problems to have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're arguing about which quarterback's going to be better, like that, what this team's had the last 20 years, I mean, that would be welcome versus what it's been.
Yeah, I agree.
Quincy, what is your what are your expectations for DTR? And what is those expectations moving forward? And do you think the Browns can still, have their goals in front of them in terms of the division and making the playoffs?
It's hard for me to have expectations for DTR because we just haven't seen that much. I don't think that Baltimore game is really a good read on who he's going to be for the rest of his career or even who he's going to show himself to be because he wasn't prepared. He's admitted it himself. Nobody thought he would play in that game, and then he had to play. It's a rough look for him, right? So I don't know if I have expectations, but I do have goals for him, right? Like I think if you're DTR and you want to keep this team on track, you're probably looking somewhere within the range of like 1,800 yards and 13 total touchdowns, whether it be rushing and passing, and 6 total turnovers. If you could stay within that range of quarterback play with like an 80% rating or 80 rating, then I think you'll be good enough for this team to be able to achieve a lot of the goals that they set out to. Now, obviously, when it comes to playoffs, Super Bowl, stuff like that, we'll just have to wait and see where they are if this defense can carry a quarterback to that level and if they're playing at that level at the end of the season. But if they want to make the playoffs, possibly have a chance to win a division, I think those are the goals for DTR. You just want them to be similar to as good, if not a little bit better than what Jacoby Brissett is, which is a high bar for him and a high goal for him to reach. And again, I can't expect that out of him, but that's where I can put the goal for him to be at.
Yeah, 1,800 yards would be 225 a game. I mean, that's not crazy. I'd be surprised if he averaged that high.
I would too.
Anything more, I don't think that's crazy, though.
I think Deshaun Watson's gone over that number once or twice.
Yeah,
in all of his starts here.
Yeah, but DTR hasn't been, on hold for 2.5
I'm
years.
way more worried about the turnovers than the passing
Yeah, the
yards.
turnovers is the
too.
biggest thing. And that's what we're going to find out. Like, if this was a year ago, 2 years ago, I would say 100% the Browns season is over because of the way offense has been. Because defense is trending in the other direction right now, and because the Browns defense has been so great, we still give them a chance. Certainly they have a reasonable chance to make the playoffs. I think their odds of winning in the playoffs are going to be very slim unless DTR is, Brock Purdy or something close to that. But, man, if he threw for 1,800 yards and kept the turnovers, not out of control, to me that's a huge win for the Browns if he averaged 225 a game. I'd be happy if he threw for 1,400 yards.
I'll take 185, 190 and no turnovers.
Yeah, that's
no
about
interceptions.
1,400 yards.
Can't give teams short
1,400 yards and he 5 turnovers in the last 8 games, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big numbers to watch here when you're looking at DTR over the next few weeks in this offense in general is first downs. How many first downs can they create? They've actually done a decent enough job of doing it this year. They just haven't finished a ton of these drives. But if they can keep the first downs up, and again, just be similar to that offense last year where Jacoby Brissett had I think, on average 345 first downs if you average his numbers out for a whole season. If you can get somewhere close to that, that means you're staying on the field, you're having these long drives, you're getting field goals or touchdowns out of these drives, and then you're asking the defense to just clean up along the edges while you dominate time of possession. If you can be that team does have a higher ceiling than I think people think just because the quarterback play isn't great, especially if this defense continues to play at this level, which is not just best in the NFL. I mean, we're talking about a defense that's playing similar to the levels of a 2015 Broncos or 2017 Eagles. Now, they got to finish playing at that level, but we saw what those defenses did to the floor of their quarterback play. They rose them to a point to where you were able to achieve greatness with not great quarterbacks. Not great playing quarterbacks at the time with Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning was certainly great, but not at the time. You make a great point. And one of the things that has me most optimistic, Quincy, and I'm curious where you are on this team was built to run the football. And, the injury in week 2 to Nick Chubb at the time seemed devastating. And I think if you would have polled 1,000 Browns fans and asked them, how many of you believe that the Browns will have the number 2 rushing game in the NFL going into week 11 when you're going to play 9 games without Nick Chubb, 8 games, whatever it's been to this point? I don't think many would have said that this was sustainable.
But the Browns don't have a number 2 rushing game.
Where are they in rushing yards?
They're number 2.
Yeah, but that includes Nick Chubb.
For one game, Bull.
Nick Chubb only includes 200 yards of that.
Yeah.
You take out 200 yards.
Well, somebody would have gotten those yards in the game.
This whole
The
debate.
Browns don't have the number 2 running game.
This whole
in the league.
debate
We know
about the
that.
Browns
Come on
run. Now, listen. The Ravens game, it was there.
And that's my
legit.
point.
But before that,
It had been mediocre.
yeah,
But
it really
for
was.
For the year. I'm
the
not going to
totality.
discount that
You
they're
talk
number
about
2.
the eye test all the time. We
Bull.
know their running game has not been very good until the Ravens game.
What are you
It hadn't
talking
been.
about?
Mikey, give me metrics on the Browns
Well,
run game.
Bull.
Yeah.
I would say this, though. If you even just go since the bye week when Nick Chubb was not here, the Browns have averaged 151.4 yards
I'll take it.
a game.
I'll
So
take
that's
it.
all
Because-
without Nick
and
Chubb.
they're- and
Hold on,
nobody
last
said they
year
were
with Nick
terrible.
Chubb, they averaged 153 yards a game. So
Quincy.
that's only 2 yards below that.
because they're running it twice as
They're
much
running
as they
it
were
way
last
more
year.
than most teams.
Good.
That doesn't make them the second
They're
best
still
running
averaging
team.
4.2 yards per carry. They're not Nick Chubb. Of course they're not Nick Chubb, but they're still
Quincy,
one of the better
Quincy.
rushing
Before
teams in
the
the
Ravens-
NFL.
You
because
think
right
the Browns
now,
are one of the
who
better
are the
running
elite
teams in the
running
league
backs
right
in
now?
the NFL?
Oh, my
Who
God.
are the best rushing teams in the NFL
Mike,
right now? Who?
Yeah, Mike, Bull is absolutely incredulous that they're one of the better running teams.
I mean, now listen, the Ravens game.
They're a decent running game, and they played great against the Ravens.
The Ravens
They did.
game was terrific. That was Jerome
But-
Ford's best game. He was
I
running through
think
contact.
overall
He
they've been a
looked great.
mid-tier running
Where are-
team.
Hold on. Here's the problem we got. We just crowned the Baltimore Ravens as one of the best defenses ever to move, and we just went into their house and ran the ball down their
Yes,
throat.
and we're giving them full credit for that.
So
maybe
why
going-
would I be mediocre if I could do that against a great
And
team?
maybe going forward they will be, but they haven't been that running team the whole year.
So all the metrics say they are, but you just said
no,
they
what
ain't.
metric? We don't
metrics
have
say
any
that
metrics.
they
They're
are.
number
That's
two
what I asked
rushing
Mike.
team.
What are they?
I know
Mike?
I looked at two stats that had them, I think number 2 and one was number 4.
They are tied for second in most rushing yards. They also do run the ball more than any other team.
But give us the
it's
metrics.
pretty even. Yeah, I mean, they average 34.9 rushing attempts per league. That's first in the NFL. It's 2.5 more
of
than
course
any-
they can have it.
Listen, before
That's not more than they were running the ball last year. They were
Pre-Ravens
running the
game.
ball
No,
around
listen.
like 33, 34 carries a game.
Pre-Ravens game. I'm not talking about the Ravens game. Everyone was terrific in the Ravens game, and they get all the credit for that. Prior to that, I will show you scatter charts and everything else of Jerome Ford's
Dude, we were
average
all screaming he shouldn't
He
play
was in the
anymore.
lower left tier. He was
Yeah.
in the worst tier of running backs.
Come on, Jay, you talk about
He had a
eye
terrific
test all
game
the
against
time.
Baltimore.
Bull,
Prior to Baltimore,
You talk about eye test
Bull,
all the time. Why?
You yell
you're
and
talking-
scream at me all
if
the
you're
time
talking-
that I'm
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I can't
You
ignore
think the Browns
numbers.
have the second best running game?
Who's
I
better?
said they're among the best, and the
Okay.
stats back that up. So yeah, I'm not backing down
One
on that.
stat backs it up. Total yards.
And-
because they run the ball more than other teams. It's
So-
not apples to apples.
I don't care. Here's the thing. We've talked now how
Yeah.
they're going to win moving forward.
Right.
How are they going to win? Ball control, check. Clock control, when you control the ball, you control the clock. They are statistically among the league leaders
in one statistic.
in rushing yards.
but when you take twice as many to get there, it's not
Wait,
efficient.
no,
You're not
Twice as many?
No,
Number two
you're
is
way
not
wrong on
16.
that. Quincy, help me out.
How many more
twice
carries?
as many. Who's number
Again,
two? They're
again.
averaging
Oh my
30
God,
something
you
like
guys
that.
are
Mike,
going to
you
make my
have that?
head blow off.
I'm looking for
Look,
the
look.
success
If you
rate.
want to make
Listen,
the
you
argument
have to
that
go-
they've not been able to run.
Listen, the
consistently
argument that
at the
Bull and I are
level that
talking
they
about,
were
if you
without
go,
Nick Chubb
if you
before
go
last
from the
week, you
time
can
Nick
make
got
that
hurt
argument.
until prior to the Ravens game, their yards per carry was among the
terrible.
worst in the league.
guys know
That's
that.
what
What are you
we're
talking
saying.
about?
They are currently 11th in the league in yards per carry. 11.
And what was it prior
Which is-
to the Ravens
I
game?
don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's the
not
point that we're
splitting,
trying to
but
make.
It didn't go
okay,
up
so
that
you're going to
much.
take
Yes.
someone's best season out and then say what was it?
No,
besides
the point that we're making is it was one game. It was the most recent game. It was
Right.
one game.
But if you
Now
ta-
they have
hey,
to
hold
do it
on.
again
Hey,
and
hold on.
again.
And
Hold
by
on.
the way, even
Yes.
with the Ravens game, if you took Nick Chubb out, it's probably 15th, which is what I said.
Quincy, make
yards per.
make your point.
Yeah, Quincy's on.
Make
the
your
phone
point.
here. Go ahead, Quince.
Okay, it's not just one game though, Jason. Like it's been multiple games that they've had good rushing attacks in here. Now I see what you're saying. It's like, hey, there's some games where Jerome Ford had like a 70-yard run, and then they really didn't put anything together play by play. And I will agree, the Baltimore game was the first one where they were able to run and get those 7-10-yard gashes like they used to with Nick Chubb at will. But that doesn't mean that the run game hadn't been effective to that point. Like it had been effective in all of the wins that they had. It was an effective run game versus San Francisco. It was an effective run game versus Tennessee. It was an effective run game versus the Cardinals. It's not Nick Chubb. Nobody is saying it's anything close to what you had with
Yes,
Nick
you
Chubb.
are. You guys
But
said it was
is
an elite
clearly-
running game. You did say it
It
was
is.
close.
I didn't.
Number
Nobody
two,
said elite. You
elite
put
to
words
me.
in our mouth. We said it was amongst.
Jay
the better
literally
in the
just
league.
said it,
And
Quincy.
Quincy,
now-
I'll say it. I'll
right
say it.
now,
I will
I
say
don't
it.
agree
If you're
with
number
elite,
2 in the league, I'm
but
giving you
I will
elite.
say,
Then you must be
Yeah,
judging
well, I
pitchers
will
based
say,
on
like,
wins, because
also-
that's the same thing.
No, I'm not.
in the context of what we're talking about with other rushing attacks in the league, the Browns are a top 5 rushing offense because right now nobody else is really outrunning the Browns. So like they're doing a really good job. Jerome Ford's averaging above 4.2 a carry, so like, it's really
By the
good.
way-
like this is still a really good rushing attack.
By the way, Quincy, you said they ran well against Tennessee. They averaged 2.5 yards per carry against Tennessee.
Isn't that the game they ran like
Okay,
40
that was one
times?
more wrong I got there. Well, okay.
They had 31 carries for 78 yards.
I think that was also the game.
And if
It
you
was funny
take
because
if you take out the Deshaun
Well,
Watson,
no. A lot of those carries were at the end of the game, though, Bull, right? Because it was a blowout, and they were just running into like 12.
you said they had a big running game against the Titans. I didn't say it. You said
Because
it.
if you go from the third quarter when the game wasn't blown out by 20, they ran the ball well. If you just look at the effective carries in the game, Bull.
Jerome Ford
you
had
talk
10
about
carries
eye test,
for 18
look
yards
at the
in that
runs
game.
when the game mattered.
Quincy, Jerome
Look
Ford
at
had
the
10
runs when the
carries
game
for 18
mattered.
yards.
Because the game was blown out by the second half, and all they
Yeah,
had to do was run to kill the clock.
And Quincy,
Okay.
one other
All
thing
right.
too, like I mean, we can cherry pick stats all day. We can do that. I got.
Well,
this
you only
stat,
got one
that
stat. I got a
No.
52 stats.
I'm giving you the measurable stat. So
I just gave you a million
if
stats.
If we look at what's the measurable stat for team play, wins, right? Now there are a lot of times you can look at a team with 6 wins. You can even do this with the Browns and say, yeah, but it's a win. You can't take that away. In rushing, I'm looking at average rushing yards per game, and the Browns, and that's not one game cherry picked. They 10 for 18 on the season. They're averaging the second most yards on the ground in the NFL.
Where are they in average yards? Average yards per carry. Mike,
11.
11. They're 11.
Okay, that's about basically.
And by the
what I
way,
said.
the difference between 11 and 3 is like
What?
3 yards. So it's inches.
Yeah. Boy, where do you think this rushing offense is at?
I said
Like,
they're
can
a
I get a
mid-tier
clear
running
target
back
from you?
game. I thought that was being generous
11's
before
not
last week,
mid-tier?
and they were better.
They are absolutely mid-tier.
Of course they are.
Before the
What do you
Baltimore
guys-
game. Before the Baltimore
Okay.
game.
No,
they
no.
get full credit for the Baltimore game. They
So
kicked
before
their
they
ass.
played
They
the
had
best
not had a
rushing
great
defense
game
in
running the
NFL
ball
that they're
before-
qualified to play and gashed them. Hold on. Before they played the best rushing defense in the NFL and gashed them, they were mediocre. But
We
now they
wanna
have a
take
good
that game out
against
of the-
them, and
we
we're
don't
gonna
wanna
throw
Nobody's
talk about
that
taking
out.
that game out of it.
You're
You said
saying
they
they
had
had
been
been
mediocre.
mediocre
I said from the
before that.
time
You
Nick
said they
got
were
hurt,
mediocre
from the
before
time
that
Nick got
game.
hurt
Thank you, Chris.
until the Baltimore game, they were very
then they
average.
played
They were
well.
terrific
And
last
they-
week. Nobody's taking anything away from last week.
So
They were
what does that
phenomenal
say,
last week.
Jason?
Yeah, what does that say? We can't
So
ignore
what does
that.
say?
I'm not ignoring it. I'm
You're
saying
ignoring the rest of the games. We're not
from the
ignoring that
time
game.
Nick got
I'm
hurt
using all of
until
them.
the Baltimore game,
Had
they were
been elite
very
in any other
average.
game without Nick Chubb.
Here's
Hey,
what I'm
Had
saying.
they been elite in any other game? You talk about eye test all the time, Jay.
Let me
Had
tell you.
they been, yes
Hold
or
on,
no?
hold on.
Okay, now that you're done,
Hold
let
on.
me
Answer
answer
the
the
question?
question.
Go ahead, and I'll go.
I'm going to give you an aggregate.
So you're not
one
going to answer
game.
the question.
No, I'm going to give
Yeah.
you the view from 30,000 feet, not 50 feet. From an aggregate standpoint, this Browns defense is number 2 in the league in average yards per game. I will give you that they run it more, not twice as much. They run it more. They're a team that was built to run. I'm glad they're running it as much as they are. I was yelling for them to run it more last year.
Yep.
They're good at running the football, and my initial point that started this was
You still haven't
I
answered
don't
my question,
think
by the
that
way.
you would have had many Browns fans that would have told you that going into Week 11 with Nick Chubb on the sidelines for 9 weeks, this team would average the second most yards per game in the NFL. Those are all facts. I'm not making that up. And Quincy sees it the same way. I think G does too.
I'm going to just tell you, y'all talk about these eye tests and all that. I'm going to tell you what I know test. See, I've been up front when I got blocked by people like the Browns. So if you ain't had your hands in the trenches, you don't understand. I know what elite looks like. When you put the tape on a Wyatt Teller and he bulldozing people, when you put that tape on a Joe Batonio, see, y'all can talk all the stats you want. You go ask the defensive lineman that's playing against the Browns and say, who's elite? They're going to tell you the Cleveland Browns is an elite running attack because of what they put on film, what they can do. And it ain't about how much you're running and what you're running it for. It's about, do you know we running it and can you stop it?
And Baltimore knew we were running it.
And
Can I
they
ask a
couldn't
more
stop it.
productive question here?
Sure.
Can I
Go
ask
ahead,
a more
Quincy.
productive question to Bull and Jason?
Yeah.
Where do you think that this rushing game is going to go, given that Jerome Ford's a young running back who seems like he's starting to put it together? Where do you think they can go at the end of this year?
I mean, I think they have a
'Cause we know
chance
where you
to
think
keep
they are.
improving. Jerome Ford was impressive. I thought Jerome Ford had been very bad until this game.
He was.
He had been very bad.
Let's not forget that he
I
had a
don't think
high
that's
ankle
been
sprain
true.
that they
I
said
think
was
it's
going to
been-
keep him
Okay,
out
but
for
you
weeks.
guys were with us when we said they should bench him, basically.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
wanted to see more of another running back.
Right. Yeah.
Now, and they astutely pointed this out during the broadcast, give Jerome Ford credit because when the original injury was announced, we thought it was going to be multiple games. And the big story was this guy's back to practice
back.
doing agility drills and looks great. Now, he played a game and did not play well. I'll readily admit that. Now, I'm willing to say, because I've had a high ankle sprain, and I think most of us have, it's hard to get to the bathroom. Yet this guy was on the field, so I can't judge him for the poor numbers that he put up in that
line
game.
it. Let me bottom line it from my perspective, and I think Jason's perspective. Jerome Ford, Jerome Ford played great in the Ravens game, and maybe going forward,
Maybe
and
he
they
will
play great.
That would be
We're not
great.
saying that can't happen.
No.
We're saying we don't. You're making it seem as if it's a sure thing based on total yardage.
I wasn't projecting.
When they have way more carries.
I wasn't
the
projecting,
reality
Bull.
is that between Nick Chubb getting hurt and this past week, the Browns' running game had been mid. We're not saying it's going to be the rest of the year.
Well,
you're just talking as if it's a
Go ahead,
sure
Quincy.
thing the rest of the season.
No, I
I
didn't.
think
I wasn't
also the
projecting. I
Seattle
just said
game
up
is
to this
being
point.
erased
What's
in
that?
this conversation too, because the Seattle game is being erased in this conversation. That was another game where the run game carried you throughout most of the game, despite the turnovers that you had with PJ Walker in the offense, and that was against one of the better rushing defenses in the NFL too. So this is not the first time they've done this against a very good team. They've done this before, and they've been a good rushing offense against good teams before this year. So I think this is just showing you who they are and who they can be, and I think the more snaps Jerome Ford gets, the better he's going to be. We've seen Kareem Hunt be a really great short yardage situation, and then you could throw in Pierre Strong every once in a while as a change of pace there. And I think you have a nice rotation that has led you to second in rushing yards
And
in
that
the
was my
NFL
point.
because you don't.
And they
get
were
the
not
second
great
like
against.
Okay.
They were not
You
great
don't
against
get the
Seattle.
second.
They were mid against Seattle.
All right, this is the best I can do with my
Oh
phone.
my goodness!
After the Cardinals game, I wrote this after the Cardinals game. So prior to the Baltimore game.
Okay.
Prior to the Baltimore game, Cleveland's backs averaging 3.7 yards a carry since Chubb's injury at Pittsburgh, ranks 25th in the league.
Okay.
That's what
it.
we're saying.
But Jay,
That's
here's-
all
when
we're
you-
saying.
When you give that stat,
Who cares about
I know,
before?
that means nothing to
We
me.
talking about
You're
nothing.
basing your whole argument on
We
one
talking
stat.
about the
Yes.
we
Yes.
talking totality of the
I
season.
will tell you why that means nothing to me. Because if you take any player's best game out,
Why are we
they
caveating
suddenly
that?
regress
Forget it. We
back
can't
to
win
the
here.
means. Guys,
Well,
I'm not
it's
giving
not-
you.
Where's my hood?
You're
Where's my
taking
hood?
away
You
the
can
other-
hide all you want, but you're
I'm
hiding
not
your head in the
hiding.
sand.
I
Jason,
just said before
Jay.
the Baltimore game, they sucked.
Okay, where
That's
are they?
all we were
Okay,
saying.
it's not-
That's all we're
But
saying.
we're
It's
not
not that
saying that.
simple,
All we
though,
said
Jason.
is
The Baltimore
before this
game just
they
happened.
They weren't special.
So why are we delineating before anyway?
We're going to forget the Baltimore game and
Hold on.
everything?
No, nobody's forgetting the Baltimore game. We
You are.
all hope that it continues that way.
You are.
But it was one game. It was
Yes,
one
but
game.
guess what?
And they
I'm
ran
giving-
great.
You're
They
saying
ran
the other
great.
games are
Jason.
meaningless, Jay.
No.
You're saying the other games are meaningless.
We
Yes.
never said
So I'm
that.
not.
We
So
never
I'm not.
said
Yes.
that.
Guys, we
We
got to
never
move on.
said
We
that.
got to move on.
wait,
I'm just
wait.
gonna-
Go
Go ahead,
Time out,
Quincy, make a point.
Stop. So the point is like, do you really think that this team wins these games that they've won with no quarterback for the majority of them if the running game is as mid as you're saying? Like,
It is
that's
mid. They
really
won it
how
because
that
of the defense.
They won
Because
It
you
is
have
mid.
one
Mid.
stat
It's
that you pulled up in one
One
article.
it's
I know.
yards
It's
per
mid.
carry.
What's your stat besides
It's
total
one
yards?
stat.
It's yards
You
per
got
carry.
one star.
Besides total
rushing
yards.
touchdowns, they're on track to be on the same pace as they were last year. They've been excellent in short yardage, third down
3.7 yards
situations.
a carry, 25th in the league.
Without
and you're
their best
telling me
game.
they're
But
elite.
Jason,
Without
how
their
many
best
of
game.
those yards?
We were
how
saying
many of those
before that
carries?
game, Jay.
We're saying before
Why do you
that
not
game.
understand?
So one
How
game
many
makes
of
them
those
elite.
carries?
Before that game, they'd been mid. They
I'll-
were great.
I'll
Guys,
clear
how
it up.
many of those carries happen at the end of some blowout games?
No,
They're
it
just
was-
running the ball into.
Oh,
there
come
were
on.
like
No,
20
no,
or 30
absolutely
of those
not.
carries.
Absolutely
within the
not.
last
You said they were
Absolutely not.
great
Serious
against
right
Seattle.
now?
They
We
averaged
don't
4 yards
remember
a
that?
carry. That's
We don't
not great.
remember them running into a 8-man box for like 2 quarters because the game was over with DTR in it? Like, come on. Like,
Well, Quincy, the danger of
it's
doing
disingenuous
that.
to look at this rushing offense, see them get to number 2, and say, well, they had 3.7 yards per carry. Not
We got,
investigate
listen,
that
here's
stat
the
any
bottom
further
line.
to see
We've
the
given you about a
context
dozen
around
stats.
it.
You
There's
guys have one
context.
stat and nothing else.
He's
So
giving
you
me
got no
one
facts to
stat.
back
No.
up
What
what
are
you're
you
saying.
talking about? A dozen stats. I've been the
All
one
right.
spitting out facts this whole segment.
No,
You're
you
giving
haven't.
me
All
one
right,
stat.
I'll find the scatter
You're giving
chart
me
with Jerome
3.7
Ford
yards
in
per
the
carry.
worst
That's all
box
you've
you
given
can
But
me.
it's
have.
the most yards
I don't even,
per
you know
game.
what?
That's
I
all they
don't care
got.
about a scatter
All
chart.
right.
Oh, my
Here's what I care
God.
about. And really, honestly, numbers are so tricky. Everybody knows that. You can pick a number to make your case for anything.
Yeah, we
however,
picked 10. You got 1.
However, for my purpose, I want to take the number that
You want to take the only stat that helps your argument.
No, I
got
don't.
it.
I
Yes.
want to take the total stat.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at a snapshot before this game, or I don't want to look at a quarter against
don't
this
nobody
team.
care about that.
I want
So-
to look when information
You're saying
is
the
power.
only game that matters is this last game.
No,
That's it.
No, I'm
Nobody
not.
said
Yes,
that.
you are.
Bull.
Yes, you are.
Listen to me.
I'm listening to you. You're not listening to me.
I am not talking about a specific game. I am talking about the aggregate number for the season.
Yeah.
There's one metric that talks about the entire season, not a quarter, not before this game, not a half. I'm going to give you the biggest number that we have. Information is power. The more we have, the better we are at making a long-term
Yeah.
opinion. The aggregate number for
One
yards.
stat.
It's one stat, but it's the one that means
That
the
matters
most.
the least, but go ahead.
Okay, so you
right.
can say it means the least, but
Well,
in It's yards per game.
Let me ask
what
you
are
this,
you
Jay.
averaging on the ground yards per game? And the Browns are number 2.
Let me ask you this. If a quarterback plays crappy for 4 games, and in the 5th game he's great, and it skews the stats because one game will skew the stats, you don't factor that in at all?
I look at the 5.
But that's not the situation.
No, it's a bigger sample size.
That's not the situation.
It's a bigger sample size. Give me the biggest sample size you can.
I'm done. I'm done.
You are done. You're right.
It's like talking to a wall.
Go ahead.
Let's take a vote.
Go ahead, the show. I've seen y'all talk about PJ Walker and how they won in spite of PJ Walker.
Yes.
Well, if you think they won in spite of PJ Walker, then what was going right on the offense in spite of PJ? What was it?
Nothing.
Was it running?
No.
Because apparently not to you it wasn't running. They just put up points by osmosis? Like, how did they score points in that?
Again, Quincy, we said the running game was mid. That doesn't mean it's terrible. The passing game was terrible. We never said the running game was the worst.
But you guys acting like P.J. Walker might have been the worst quarterback to ever play in the NFL, right?
That's
some of the stuff that I heard on the show. So you don't overcome that with mid-rushing games.
Thank you.
Yes, you do when you have a great defense.
You got to score points.
By the way,
Quincy, again, you've given. By the way, your 2 examples of great running games were Tennessee and Seattle.
So
they were not good against Tennessee in the run, and they were mediocre against Seattle. So you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Nobody watching that Seattle game thought they were mediocre in Seattle. Stop it.
They averaged 4 yards a carry. How good could they have been?
Let me set this up real quick. We're not talking about yards per carry.
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about this. Hey, Quincy, how many times have you broken down all 22s and showed run game?
Oh, yeah, I broke down all season of the all 22 of the run game. And even at the beginning of the season when they weren't running well, it was like, they're missing 1 or 2 blocks, and then they'll be able to get downhill. And then they started to do that past week 4.
So you took the time to watch the run game and people block and break down what they missed, what they did, and how they did, right? You took that time. You go watch them. They up there. Like and subscribe to the channel.
You watch them too.
I watch them too. So my thing is, he said the eye test, all that good stuff. I'm talking about the watch test. You can give me all them numbers you want. I done seen every snap and every rep. If you can't say that, you can't put that stat over what I'm talking about. Can we?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when I watch the game.
Oh, Cats is quiet.
I'm done. This is not good television.
That all 22 is talking to boys, right?
No,
it don't.
I'm done.
We can give stats.
I'm just saying, you got to give credit for
this is silly.
We've argued long.
This is silly.
We've argued long.
I want to say this.
It turns into bedlam every time Quincy's on. Quincy, every time you're on, it turns into bedlam.
That's not a bad thing.
Let me give you a question on something else. What do you think of them bringing in Joe Flacco? What do you think of that?
I mean, get a veteran in there, somebody to talk to, DTR on the sidelines if he needs any help. And if it goes horribly wrong with DTR, you probably would want to go to Joe Flacco. The truth is, with DTR coming in to shine out for the rest of the season, we're probably reverting this offense similar to what it used to look like with Jacoby Brissett. A lot of play action, a lot of underneath throws, and stuff like that. So the skill set needed at quarterback is now different than what you had with PJ, who replicates Deshaun's style. So I would look for Joe Flacco to eventually become the backup if they keep him on here and if he stays with the team long enough. Just in case the rookie does not go well, you have a veteran in there who you feel like can run the offense and be at least a competent game manager. So I really don't mind the pickup there. It's a little bit different. It's going to be weird to see Joe Flacco in a Browns uniform, but I do think that it's a solid enough pickup because Joe Flacco's proven he can get rid of the ball. He's not going to throw too many interceptions, and he's going to be super safe with it. So it's a good fail-safe just in case DTR doesn't work out.
Quince, we only have 30 seconds here, but before the Flacco, obviously they haven't signed Flacco. They're just going to kick the tires on him. Yesterday at this time, if you were to make a list of guys that you want to see the Browns bring in, who would be the top of that list of the guy that you wanted them to sign moving forward?
Oh, for this third spot, Joe Flacco would probably be around the top of it. The options just aren't that fruitful, right? You're talking about either you get a young guy like Chris Oladokun who's been on some practice squads and has some promise,
right,
or you're getting an old washed up guy, or you're at best in between, you're getting a Trevor Siemian, right? I think Joe Flacco is a better option than both of those, and if they go with him, I have absolutely no problems with it. It's slim pickings at this point in the season, right? If you're talking about getting a Philip Rivers that's been out the league for 4 years or 3 years at this point, and is old, or trying to convince Tom Brady, those just aren't realistic options. I think that's probably the best you could do. And again, it's going to be about ball control, first downs, and time of possession. And I think Joe Flacco is the best option out there if that's what you want to do, and if DTR can't get that taken care of.
Yeah, let's hope it all works out. Quince, great to see you again. Great job. And tell people quickly where they can see your show, because I'm with G. I love watching your show. I think you have great Browns content. Where can folks see you?
Oh, yeah, appreciate it. You could just put Quincy Carrier, Quincy, Carrier, like you see on the screen. Just put that in your YouTube search bar and hit the search button. I'll pop up. You'll see my videos pop up. I also have other projects. Check me out. I cover the AFC North as well with my friends. I'm on AFC North Talk, so I do a number of different projects. They're all on the channel. Make sure you check that out. Appreciate y'all for having me on.
No, absolutely. Thanks. You do great work. Thanks, Quince. Always
See you,
good to
buddy.
catch up with you.
Appreciate you, dog.
Even if, as Adam says, every time he comes on, he drops a bomb in the middle of the room. I don't think that's a bad thing.
By the way,
I like that.
I do too.
good stuff, Quincy.
Thanks, my man.
By the way,
Didn't mean to raise the blood pressure up.
No, we're glad you did, actually.
The Guardians have traded Cal Quantrill to the Rockies for an A-ball catcher.
Which we